is going on, everybody? Today's episode is about the importance of having community managers in digital marketing today. And today I have an amazing guest. It was so funny. I actually had her sister on the last episode. I swear, this family is a huge marketing slash branding slash entrepreneurial family. I had the blessing to actually go on vacation with these folks for 7 days in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, which was a blast. And as I got to learn more about them, I realized that these women had tremendous insights on branding, brand strategy, digital marketing. And I was like, you have to come on my show. So without further ado, I want to introduce my next guest. My next guest is a graduate of Lehigh University. So smart cookie we're going to be talking to. And she worked for some big brands like L'Oreal Cosmetics and helping them build their digital marketing platform. So, all right, let's get right into it. Natasha Zacharias, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I am so happy that you are on the show today. And I have a little contest with myself today. I'm going to say, who's going to outperform? What sister is going to outperform the other? Is it going to be Gabby or is it going to be you? So
have to see.
So let's get some background on you before we get into the meat and potatoes. So what got you so passionate about digital marketing and working with brands to help them with their digital marketing presence?
Absolutely. So as you know, I'm someone who is super passionate about the beauty and cosmetic field. And really, it's all because of the driver behind that. So I love that beauty is about empowering people, empowering women and men all around the world through innovation and creativity. And it really gives them the confidence. It makes them happy. It makes them feel beautiful. So knowing all of those things, I knew I wanted to be at a powerhouse company where I can make the most impact. And without a doubt, for me, that was L'Oreal. And I decided to pursue my marketing interest there as a digital marketing associate with the Biolage DMI brand. And there it was all about hair care and all about beauty. So it was always being at the forefront of beauty. And I look forward to answering any questions that you have today.
Well, I'm excited to have you. I got a ton of questions. Now, if I remember correctly, you said your office was in your Hudson Yards. And when I thought about it, I remember watching old Gary Vaynerchuk videos and realizing that VaynerMedia was in the same building as the building you worked in. Did you ever have a chance to kind of bump heads with him or, see him in passing or grab his ear?
Honestly, I have not because we have different interests, but I would have loved to because it's a great opportunity that could have been there. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, you guys have a digital marketing powerhouse, either upstairs or downstairs. I don't know where your office is, like literally at your fingertips. I'm surprised you guys haven't plugged or positioned him for some of your stuff. Now, the topic of conversation today was funny because we're sitting poolside a couple of weeks ago, and I start telling you a little bit about what I do and what my brand's all about. And I was sharing with you some of the bottlenecks that I'm experiencing as I am going from the 6-figure to the 7-figure level with my business. And one of the things that I'm starting to feel the growing pains of is community management on social media. So there's only one Henry Kaminski, and there's several different social media platforms. And so how does one person manage all these platforms? And I have the team behind me to really push the buttons, but the brains behind it all, the strategy behind it all, again, like I'm one person, right? And it was so funny because you were like, it sounds like you need a community manager. And I was like, brilliant. So I couldn't put my finger on the exact, issue. I knew what the problem was, but I didn't know exactly the right solution. So let's talk a little bit about what community management is so people get an understanding of what that is. and why it's so important to have a community manager specifically to help you grow on social media.
Absolutely. So, community management is a way to develop relationships with people based on your social media platforms. And really, it's the way people are growing today from 50K to 100K. So, it's free, it's something you can take advantage of. But I think there's a few different components in order to be successful in community management
Mm.
and really maximize your potential. So again, it's about developing relationships with people, really connecting with your community and engaging.
Mm. So I know a lot of people that are listening that may be like, okay, I get it, but how do I source one? How do I know who to hire in this particular case? So is there any things, because a lot of our audience are small, medium-sized businesses, they may be solopreneurs that are looking to scale, and they want a strong team to back them up, because we all know, like, without our team, we're nothing, right? So what does a strong community manager have as characteristics, attributes that will help our audience say, okay, this is the right person to manage our platforms?
Absolutely. So there are a few things that I think are very important about the role, which I will connect to the traits that one needs for the job. I think a community manager is not just someone who is commenting back on comments and your DMs, but it's about being the best customer representative on your Instagram. Being an expert, whether you are in sports and beauty and healthcare, they really should know everything about your industry.
Mm.
It's also about being a friend, being able to really connect through one-on-one relationships and being able to carry on those relationships. And it's also about being transparent and vulnerable. How
Mm.
when is it appropriate, to what level is it appropriate to be honest with your audience, and how can you go about those things? So with that being said, I think you need someone with strong interpersonal communication
Mm.
skills, someone who is um, naturally bubbly and can work, is a really strong team player, can really work with anyone.
Mm.
Someone who is also analytical and can really understand um, business and what they should be looking for, because maybe you have a community manager who is okay with answering the DMs, but then because they're not really that analytical person and creative person, then they miss opportunities because they're not really understanding what they're seeing. So I think those are just some of the qualities that people should look for in their community managers.
Oh, I love it. One of the things you mentioned to me offline was a great community manager is looking for those opportunities and to connect with other influencers, other brands, micro brands, micro influencers, smaller folks that can help you get your word out, or bigger folks to help you get more attention, right? And so it's so important to understand that social media is called social media for a reason. It is to be social. And I think we forget about that. It's not called selling media, it's called social media. So a lot of people just go right for the jugular and try to close that sale with whether it's a collaboration or a sponsorship or an actual sale. People go for the jugular right away, and it's so important. I like how you mentioned, having somebody that's creative to see opportunities that may not be so black and white, and understanding the brand that they're representing and saying, wow, this could be a great opportunity for, let's say, let's use one of my clients, Dom Fawcett, who's a great speaker coach, right? He's out there, he's helping people get on stage and sell from stage and speak on stage. And, that would be a phenomenal opportunity for Dom to get his brand out there, right? We got to connect Dom with X influencer or X brand. I think that's so important to be forward thinking like that, especially in 2019, 2020, because the competition is so powerful and it's so cutthroat. Your sister was talking about on the last episode about how the smaller brands are so quick to change and pivot, where these bigger brands, it's like moving a cruise ship and trying to turn a cruise ship just to get one little trend implemented. And it's really tough. it's really tough. So having this community manager, forward thinking, outgoing, seeing things that other people might not see is so important. Now, I know my audience is going to be asking this question. When shit hits the fan, okay? Say you have a disgruntled client that wants to go out and try to attack you online publicly, right? Any suggestion on how the community manager could handle that? Because that could make or break some brands. And we always got to make sure that we're doing damage control to the best of our ability to make sure that things don't get out of hand.
Absolutely. So we actually had a situation where we had in one of our countries post something that was inappropriate, and unfortunately we were not able to see it because of the different time zones, and we weren't aware of what was being posted. So it came to a point where we were getting attacked on social media by not one person but hundreds of people over one post. And again, I would say the best thing that you can do in that case is not think about yourself, but think about your people and what you owe them. So transparency was key. And for us, we felt the best thing to do was to address the situation and answer it as honest as we could without crossing the business boundaries.
Ooh, that's so important. I mean, that has happened. Unfortunately, about 2 years ago, it happened to me. And anybody that's been following me for quite some time remembers that situation. It was very traumatic. It was to the point where, like, is this the end of my business? Because of, I'm a solopreneur at the time. And, one or two bad eggs could spoil the whole batch, right? And so I didn't have any community management at the time. It was me, but I did have one person that really saved the day, and it was my wife. When she saw what was going on, she's a really good writer. And I remember, any sort of tragedy that happens for a big brand, say, God forbid, a plane crash or a school shooting or any of these things, right away the law enforcement or the representative of the brand comes and does a statement, right? Mm-hmm. And so what my wife did was she didn't publicly go live, but she wrote on my behalf a statement. And I told her what was going on verbatim, and she was able to craft the statement. And we were able to get that out literally within an hour or so of the attacks that began. And something that I could get super emotional about, even to this day, even though it was 2 years ago, happened when we did that really made me realize, wow, you've really made a name for yourself. So, there's that old saying, right? It could take years to build a reputation and seconds to kill it, right? So my wife puts the statement out and she says, you know what? I think you should stay off of social media today completely and just go for a hike, go for a walk. Like, don't work today. And I did. So I stayed off of social media, and I came back on around 7:00 at night, and hundreds of comments on this statement, right? And these were people that were going to bat for me and were like, Henry, you don't have to worry about a damn thing. Like, we know who you are. Yeah, people make mistakes. Yeah, you're going to fix it. Yeah, you're going to get on top again. Yeah, and they started cheering me on. And then one of the guys was so crazy, he actually dug up some dirt on the guy that was trying to bash me. Come to find out, the guy that was bashing me was an ex-convict that was embezzling millions of dollars from old senior citizens. And it was like crazy. So they start putting all that stuff into the mix. And I was just like, oh my God. So the point that I say is this: whether you have a community manager or not, when you are faced with that sort of negative press, you have to handle it fast. You have to make sure you stay professional, like you said, and And if that's not you, make sure then that's the perfect example and perfect reason why a community manager is so important for you, to be that representative of the brand to help you. Because we, as the business owner, the CEO, right, we are extremely emotional over and romantic about our business. So we may say things that we don't mean because we're just hot, right? And I'll never forget it. I'm so happy that my wife was like, you know what, just take the day off, right? And I did, and it was I'm so happy because I would have never been able to craft that message like she did, right? So again, she was my fill-in community manager at the time. So this is why I wanted you on the show today, because I really want to stress the importance of this. Because if you are thinking about scaling and growing and building a team and really putting yourself out there on social media, then you only got two arms. You got, right. So how do you get it all done? And so if you don't mind, I want to kind of dig here a little bit and ask you some of the digital marketing strategic moves, as long as you're not telling any secrets. Let's just put it that way, right? What are some of the digital marketing strategies that some of these big brands are doing, like L'Oreal, to increase awareness, increase influence, sell more product? Because at the end of the day, that's what we want to do with social media. Is we do want to sell more product and service. Is there anything you could share with us that some of the small businesses perhaps could use as strategy to get their name out there?
Absolutely. I would say that's a big question, because to answer your question, it's a lot of different parts of marketing. It's not just the community manager, but to condense it all into one, I think there's something really important that people should do if they're trying to grow their social media pages today. So you should really first, I would advise, and this is something that I learned at my company and what we do in our strategy, is what is going on and what's trending in your area. So for us, as an example, I'm in beauty. So we're constantly advised to check what the competitors are doing, because when we start to read in between the lines, we can kind of see, well, they're number one in beauty right now and they're going fastest on social media. This is probably why. So some of the ways that we do that is break it into our social media team. So we have different people who are in charge of just influencer activations. Then you have your social media strategist, which is basically what I did for my team. And that's really the person who is going to identify what the strategy is going to look like for your social media. How are you going to create content? How are you going to create the voice and identity of your brand? So I would say the first thing for them to do is really figure out who's going to be your social team and what's everyone's role. Definitely an easier way to break it down. But some of the things that, again, are a trend for any role is really understanding the competitors. So once you understand your competitors, you have to figure out a lot of things. Basically, a lot of reasons why people are growing right now is because they're doing these three things. They're engaging, they're interacting, and they're connecting and relating with their audience. Actually, there's a fourth thing, and the transparency. That's something that's really big for us right now, because we know that through analytics and data, we're able to see that there's a very high demand for transparency in skincare. People really want to know what ingredients are in their products and why they should be using them. So knowing that, everybody has shifted in, whether you're an indie brand, mom and pop, or a big global brand, everyone's now saying, okay, how can we create content that is engaging, that people are gonna wanna share with others? How can we create content that is showing the texture, sensorial, really touching on those six senses? And how can we create content that's really telling a story? So those are some of the ways. Like I said, it's going to be a big chunk of information, but those are some of the ways people are thinking. They're really just trying to figure out, how can we be transparent while also through all of these strategies, how can we connect with our community? So that's part of it. But then you have someone like the community manager who's seeing all of the things that are happening, right, through your comments or through other posts and comments, and they're saying, okay, well, this is what Junior's saying, so what can we do about this, and how can we react? That's my biggest, another big part of advice is how can you react when you see something. That's the wonderful thing about social media. You can try it, and if it doesn't work, you don't do it again. But if you wait and think about it and don't do anything for a while, most likely someone else is going to take that opportunity. And lastly, really knowing who your audience is. So that plays into the influencers and the PR role. So how can you find advocates for your brand? How can you find influencers that really want to partner with you and do collaborations with you? And really turning all of those insights into action. So as you can see, there's so many different things happening, but that's my biggest advice, whether you're in any industry. It's really connecting and being able to engage as much as possible.
I love it. I think without that, you are missing tremendous opportunity, and now, I know Instagram for a fact actually has sort of a timestamp on how quickly you should be responding back to potential comments and engagement in order for that particular post to rank higher than others. And I believe it's like the first 5 minutes is like the most crucial. If you could reply back and interact within the first 5 minutes of you posting that post, they're going to rank you higher. And then about the next 30 minutes are super important, because if you continue that pace, they're going to rank you even higher. You may hit the explore page. Now it's just like you just blasted off into outer space, because now thousands, if not millions of people are going to see that particular post. And anything after the first hour, now the rockets start to simmer down, and you start to lose. That post actually starts to lose momentum. So that's just a little advanced hack, a little advanced tip to know when you are posting. You'll see some of the bigger influencers out there saying, if you reply in the next 3 minutes, the person with the best reply gets a prize. I know that's one that has been working really well for people like myself that want to blast those posts off right out of the gate. Another hack that I've seen other influencers do, which, it depends on your pocketbook, really. But Ty Lopez is notorious for this, where he will say $100 for the best comment if you can tell me this girl's nationality. This one I actually saw. This beautiful girl. She looked Russian, but she looked like some mix or whatever, right? There, he had 5,000 comments in 20 minutes. And everybody was trying to figure out this girl's nationality. And then he just gives out, he'll send you a PayPal, or he'll just send you $100 Venmo to the person who gets it. So, think about your marketing dollars and start to think about how you can get creative with spending some of that dollars. It may not be doing Facebook ads or doing it the traditional print route or digital billboard route. So these guys, I'm keeping a pulse on these guys, because this shit works. Otherwise, they wouldn't be the influencers that they are. Now, you may or may not agree with some of the stuff that they do, and I don't agree with everything that Ty does, but that little hack right there, shit, I'll try. I got $100 to try it, something like that. The only thing that I would say is just be careful when you do things like that. You'll start to dilute the quality of the lead or the quality of the interaction. People will then just do what they need to do to get that prize or get that money. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that's what you want. I'd rather have 1,000 followers that are like dying to buy from me versus 100,000 people from countries that I would never do business with, right? So paying attention to the quality, but again, to each his own. Try things out and see what happens. So as we round out the episode, I want to get into the doc's prescription because you said a lot of powerful things that I want to highlight and share with my audience and tell them this is what you need to do. So notice how Natasha mentioned to really show a level of transparency and show a level of engagement. I think 2019 and beyond is the years of engagement and really showing that personal approach. I think attention is getting smaller and competition is getting greater. And if we don't have a way to stand out and brand ourselves and become more memorable, then we're going to lose that battle. So the more you can use people's names, like I'll look at somebody who comments on my stuff and I will say, and if their name is in their handle, I will literally say, thank you, Adriana. You know, people love to see their name printed. They love to see their name heard. They love to hear their name heard. Those little things like that will go such a long way. Imagine one of your favorite influencers of all time replying back to you saying, thanks, Natasha. I really appreciate that. And they actually give a thoughtful response, not some, cookie cutter, response. You're going to go away saying, guess who responded to me today? it's
I freaked out, yeah.
Right? So like these little things like that, I really want you to not take for granted. And this is what happens. You're going to get to a point in a level of business that I'm at right now, and you're going to say, I'm going to need somebody to help me do this. So here's the thing that I want everybody to pay attention to. One is, if you train that community manager right, there will be no loss of authenticity or transparency. Because one of the reasons why I was so reluctant to bring on a community manager is because how can anybody have my voice? How can anybody be me, right? Or represent me? And, I tell my clients all the time, the best thing you could do is replace yourself and to really step away and put the right person in place. Yet I wasn't taking my own advice. And so, but you hit a certain level and you're like, I have to step away from this. Otherwise, I'm going to be stuck at 20,000 feet or 20 grand a month or 50 grand a month, and I'll never be able to break through. So I don't want you to be afraid of passing that responsibility on to a community manager and let them run with it. Now, as long as you train that community manager correctly, your values align with their values, and they have a good understanding of what you're trying to do, then you shouldn't have a problem. So I highly recommend anybody that's watching or listening to don't be afraid to let that responsibility go and put it in somebody's hands that are going to do it every single day and absolutely love doing it. Because I know a lot of you guys, social media is not your thing, and you'd rather be out there networking and doing what you love to do. So why not put somebody like Natasha or other community managers in that role and let them run with it? So that is my prescription of the day. Now, we have questions coming in constantly. And this one I found really relevant to today's conversation. So I wanted to ask you, Natasha, this question from the community. Somebody says, what's the one tip, just one tip, to help me improve my Instagram account today?
Absolutely. So I would say you can start by trying the community management piece, because it's not something that you need to hire someone right away, whether you're a small or big brand. Try it out for yourself if you haven't tried it before, and just see what happens within 2 weeks of just interactions with people. And to what was said through this podcast is really just be yourself and be personal, because it's not about saying thank you. It could be, thank you. What did you enjoy about this episode? Most likely that person's going to reply. And for me, it would be like, thank you so much. What did you like about this product? Or I would use the person's name and maybe ask them something related to what the discussion is. But I would say it's super easy. It takes maybe 5 to 10 minutes to think about how you want to start the conversation. And it's something you can start today. You don't need anybody. You don't need to be an expert. Just know your audience and figure out how you can develop a relationship with them.
I love so many great points there, because like you just mentioned, a lot of what I've been doing over the past year has been helping me grow exponentially. And that is simply that. When they respond back to you or they leave a comment, they took minutes out of their day to do that. Mm-hmm. And if you don't acknowledge them, if you take that for granted, you're kind of showing, your true colors. I hate to say it, right? And listen, I feel guilty for that. There were times where my Instagram just gets overwhelming and I can't get to everybody, and I feel bad about it. But then there was a time way back when I was like, I just want comments and I don't give a shit if I respond back. Like, who cares, right? And it was such a bad attitude. It was such a bad attitude. So I want you to really treat those people that are commenting like people, like you said, and continue the conversation. It's great that you mentioned. So if somebody writes great video or great tip or great, my response would be, well, what was great about it? What was your biggest takeaway? I love what you said. What do you like most about the product? That feedback you're going to get from them you couldn't buy that.
Yeah. And that's the big reason why people all do this community management today, because it's just direct insight. If we need something, we know we're just going to ask people.
Yeah.
They're your buyers, awesome. Your consumers.
Listen, I could talk about this forever, but I value your time. We got to wrap up. Real quick, before we go, where can people learn more about you? Because I know now after this episode, people are going to be like, I got to hire a community manager. I don't know if you're for sale or not, or for hire, but where can people learn more about you and get to a better understanding of how you're helping brands with their community management?
Absolutely. Anyone, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm always on LinkedIn. It's my number one way to network with others and learn about you, as well as you can learn about my current roles and what I've done in the past. So I don't know if you have my LinkedIn account, but it's my name is Natasha and then Zacharias, and that is the LinkedIn account.
Yeah. I'll put the link in the show notes and in the description.
Yeah, perfect. But feel free to contact me there with any questions. I'm always happy to help.
Natasha, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope my audience enjoyed it. There's a lot of great information and value here. One of the things I've been getting feedback on, we're up to actually 53,000 downloads a month. That is unbelievable. I didn't even know that there was 53,000 people that actually wanted to hear what I had to say.
That's a lot of people.
So I am super, super thankful and grateful for all of you guys for your continued support. I never thought in a million years this podcast would be getting this kind of love, but thank you so much for that. And last but not least, go check out Natasha on LinkedIn, connect with her. She is a very valuable resource and she's such a sweetheart. She'll definitely reach back out to you and help you any which way you would need as far as a digital marketing or social media platform strategy goes. So last but not least, if you haven't subscribed to this podcast or this YouTube channel, or have additional questions, drop them in the comments on YouTube. Write us a quick little written review on iTunes if you enjoy this platform and this show. And I read every single one, and I snapshot them, and I shout you out on social media. And thanks again for listening, and I will catch you on the next episode real soon.